What threat do I pose to you?
You promoted dangerous, violent ideas that kill millions of people.
I propose dangerous, violent ideas to kill people? Who have I killed?
And you look at capitalism.
Do you realize that Hitler's deadly opponent was capitalism? The fascist ideology is one that is distinctly on the left. And the idea that the fascists are right-wing because they support racial superiority? Wait a minute. The guy who showed the Ku Klux Klan movie in the White House was Woodrow Wilson, a progressive Democrat. So progressivism was married to racism at the hip. So don't pretend it was a right-wing phenomenon. It wasn't.
Whether it's someone twisting logic beyond recognition or pushing narratives without facts, these woke Karens often find themselves in situations where their arguments are swiftly checked. In this video, we've compiled a collection of clips showcasing some of the most delusional moments where Karens get put in their place big time. Starting off with this clip, a feminist who supports abortion loses it when hit with simple logic.
If I want to abort it, I'm do that.
Yeah, so if I don't want to own a slave, but you want to own a slave, am I supposed to just sit around and say that's okay?
Do not sit here in front of a microphone and compare owning a slave to me, you white f***ing bitch. You have no idea to sit here and say this to me.
What you're arguing is that that child doesn't have the same right to life as his or her mother, because you have decided, and what you said during your comments was that if I got pregnant and chose not to have an abortion, I can do that, but you can choose to have abortion because the mother gets to decide the value of that person. That's exactly what happened in pre-Civil War America. You could choose to assign value to Black Americans depending on what you felt like. You could say, oh, I am against slavery because I know these people are human beings that have value and no one has the right to own another human person. But if I was a plantation owner in the South, I could say, yeah, they have some value, but they don't have full value.
This Karen is so woke that she doesn't know the difference between a credit card limit and credit card debt.
With my credit card, I max that out to $4,000.
What do you mean you max it out? Max it out or maxed it out?
So my max, I got confused with the credit debt and the credit limit. I ended up getting a max credit limit of $8,000. So I could spend up to $8,000. That's what that means, right? Me and my boyfriend and me and my friends, we would go out and I'm like, oh, I'll pay for everybody. I got it. I'll spend the money. Don't worry about it. It's just a credit card. So I would pay and pay and pay and pay. And then I called my mom one day and I wanted her to be proud of me. So it's just like, hey, I've got $4,000 credit on my credit card. And she's like, credit limit or credit debt? I was like, what's debt? It's like, that's bad. Why did you do that? Like,
in this clip, a Karen librarian tries to scare a man out of the library by threatening to call the cops, but her argument is swiftly shut down by her boss.
You will not be able to stay in the library today.
Okay, are you going to physically coerce me out of here?
I'm not going to physically coerce anyone to leave the library. But if you are refusing to leave the library, then I can call for law enforcement to have you
And I've already had the cops called on me here, and there's nothing they could do, and they just left and said, you know,
well,
it's not
today's
a policy,
a new day.
It's not a law.
Thank
okay,
you.
Cool, today's the day. Good. Not actually good, because Rosalie says she's going to call the police on me if I record a patron.
I said I would call law enforcement if we needed to have you assisted in leaving the property for violating the code of conduct.
It doesn't seem to me like there's any issues right now.
Right.
Go ahead and take a look.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I forgot, what was your name again?
Brianna.
Brianna, yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Can you just educate her? Because remember I told you last time that I want to stop coming here, and that Dave was the reason I had to come back, and then I come back in here. Diana was actually really nice to me, which is surprising. Then we got this lady who seems to be new.
A college student accuses Charlie Kirk of promoting propaganda with a pamphlet, but he gets destroyed when it's pointed out that it contains the Constitution basics.
I was just going to ask, do you see the irony in your own propaganda in the Constitution on your brainwash tour? Having the explanations here because you don't believe the reader is smart enough to understand the language is kind of propaganda.
Well, no, so do you know who that audience is for?
For people who can't read it.
Yeah, that's a Constitution for third graders.
Yeah, why are you handing it out to college students?
Let's test your knowledge. Don't open it up. Right. What is the 10th Amendment? Okay, let's get easier. What's the 4th Amendment?
Isn't that the No Quartering Act?
No, that's the 3rd Amendment. How many articles are there in the U.S. Constitution?
There's 8 articles.
7. What is Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution?
I just want to ask
No, but I'm just saying, you came here, guns a-blazing. Yeah. You do not know more than a third grader about the U.S. Constitution.
If you don't see the article.
Charlie Kirk slams another student after being called a fascist during a heated exchange.
How do you feel about being called a fascist? What's your opinion on that?
I don't care being lied about.
Why is it a lie?
Because I'm not a fascist. I believe in a free society. Let me ask you, who's the fascist? The guy that's smiling in the sun, or the 500 people barking trying to prevent me from speaking?
I don't think any of them are fascists.
In the next clip, Kirk wrecks a Marxist who believes he's spitting facts.
Every person in China that would be given a chance to go out, almost every person would leave almost instantaneously.
Why don't they?
Because they're not allowed to.
Really? People move to the United States from China all the time.
Those that are allowed.
What do you
very
mean those
few.
that are allowed?
In Venezuela,
You're
in
just
Cuba,
banking
in
on
Iran,
people not knowing about
there
any
are
of these
millions
countries.
of people that would do anything to leave these disastrous experiments. And I have met far too many victims of communism to take any of your arguments seriously. People that have the wounds to show it.
You mean
the pastors that were in jail for decades in the Soviet Union for doing nothing
like the
wrong.
plantation owners that had their plantations
The
stolen by
people like
Fidel
Alexander
Castro.
Solzhenitsyn that wrote about it endlessly. The Cubans in Miami that had to build life rafts to save their own lives because of the oppressive Castro regime. The people from Venezuela and Cuba and Argentina. I'm gonna trust them a lot more than a smug, sanctimonious person with a super bizarre laugh.
This trans woman goes full crazy mode when she realizes she's being filmed in public.
Get the fuck out of my face now!
Ooh, that was very rude of you.
Get the fuck out of my face!
Do you want to go to jail, sir, ma'am? I don't really know what to call you.
You're done, man.
I'm done.
The fucking police, you just insulted me.
Well, listen here, pal. I mean, you are gonna go to jail.
And I could fucking tell the police to get you.
I'm vegan, so don't say that. Listen.
Insult me, man. You really get the fuck out of my way right now.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
You do not have a release. I will sue you.
You're gonna sue him? Don't sue him, man, because we're trying to just.
I don't have a. You do not have a release. If you fucking post this, I will destroy you. I will destroy you.
Just keep going on. I got my crew with me now. I got my crew. Yeah! Yeah! What's up? Woo!
A woke student tries to argue the credibility of transgender issues with his credentials, but he gets owned by Ben Shapiro.
I'm a mathematician and a physicist here, a double major, and I also just won the most prestigious award in the country to pursue research at any institution I want, the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship. So I think I'm pretty, qualified to say that most of what you're saying is based on like old data. We're using a Western colonial idea of gender. The gender binary is a Western colonialist framework of gender.
You're right. Men and women don't exist in any other culture.
No.
Think
Think about Native American.
Nailed it.
Third gender people exist in Native American societies, Western African societies, like Southern Native American societies, like Mexico. So in other places that are not white dominated,
And they
like
are
the United States or
incorrect.
Europe, and so you're
I'm
saying
saying
white,
they're biologically
so non-white
incorrect.
people. I'm a mathematician and a physicist. You cannot tell me I'm 20.
As a mathematician and a physicist, what in the hell do you know about human biology?
And you got
that
your
allows
law
you to
degree from
deny it?
Harvard. What do you know about biology?
This Karen woman was absolutely destroyed by a dude after she called a black women action cultural appropriation.
The reason why, some of us are offended and have problems with white women wearing braids is because it's documented. Black women are getting fired from the jobs for wearing braids. We are called ghetto. We are not seen as professional with our natural cultural hairstyles that are part of black culture. And then when white women wear them, they are glorified, praised, and even sometimes have the credit attributed to them.
People like that professor are exactly wrong on cultural appropriation. People get offended by braids and say, braids are a black people thing and white people can't wear braids. It's called a Dutch braid. It was from back in Nordic times, old Nordic times, with white people, with Vikings, would wear braids, yet people want to come and claim that it's some part of their culture now. No, you can't claim that something is just a part of your culture either. It's for people to share and celebrate and use so you can actually have a society that is cohesive and works together as a melting pot, not all these different groups that can't work together because everyone's so offended.
This woke woman was given a taste of her own medicine after mocking another person's height.
You were mocking me for being of average height. I can't control that. I can't control my genetics. That wasn't very... You were mocking me. I did not appreciate that.
Asking my followers if I should wear heels tonight.
I never mocked on her appearance, and I did plenty of subject matter there, believe me, but I never did it. So I didn't appreciate that.
In this clip, Riley Gaines destroys the argument of a woke guy over trans women participating in female sports with a single question.
If you're saying that we should get rid of sporting categories altogether, do you support the idea of eliminating the Paralympics versus the Olympics?
I think that's a really great question, and
Oh my God!
I need to look into that because, as you say,
The conundrum.
In another clip, Riley destroys a representative who called her transphobic for not supporting trans women's inclusion in female sports.
It's disappointing to me that although the title of this hearing implies a much needed discussion, we're likely going to be forced to listen to transphobic bigotry. Because actually, protecting female athletes in Title IX is important. Participating in sports provides so many benefits to our young people. Those benefits range from improved mental and physical health to enriched life skills, such as teamwork and goal setting. In terms of mental health, studies show that participating in youth sports is associated with lower rates of anxiety and depression, lower amounts of stress, higher self-esteem and confidence, and reduced risk of suicide. So why are my Republican colleagues working so hard to prevent our trans youth? We deserve the rights as any other women because that's what we are. There are rules and regulation that define our ability to compete. The narrative that builds on myself and trans kids in the community is negative and dehumanizing. It feels as though people don't want us to exist. And in order to change the narrative, because we do exist, and we're not going to stop existing, we need to stop these anti-trans bills.
The new rule mandates that every school in the country must demonstrate the unfairness of male participation on each specific women's team that they offer and develop rules that minimize harm to trans-identified athletes. But what about the harm to us? Who is working to minimize the harm done to female athletes? Let me be perfectly clear. A school that knowingly allows a male athlete to take a spot on a women's team or allows a male athlete to take the field in a women's game is denying a female student athletic opportunity. And that is sex-based discrimination, and it violates Title IX, regardless of what the new regulations might say. It is my sincere hope that members of this committee will take action to stop the Biden administration's illegal and administrative rewrite of Title IX. Of course, there is a place for everyone, regardless of gender identity, regardless of sexual orientation, regardless of race or what sports you play. There's a place for everyone to play sports in this country. But unsafe, unfair, and discriminatory practices towards women must stop. Inclusion cannot be prioritized over safety and fairness. And Ranking Member Lee, if my testimony makes me transphobic, then I believe your opening monologue makes you a misogynist. Thank you.
A woke student's argument over the non-importance of IDs to vote gets absolutely destroyed.
Think you should have an ID to vote?
I mean, I feel like you don't really need to, because I feel like you have your citizenship and everything like that.
Well, how would they know you have your citizenship?
That's a good question.
In this clip, a student tries to debate a speaker on fascism, but gets shut down immediately.
Hold on, don't shout at me. You came voluntarily. Did I ask you to come? I'm defending fascism. No, I'm exposing you as a fascist. But see, the problem is, sometimes you get speakers like me who are not scared of people like you. Ultimately, you are afraid of ideas. You're not willing to engage with me. You think I pose a threat to you? I'm an immigrant. I came to America with nothing. What threat do I pose to you?
You promoted dangerous, violent ideas that kill millions of people.
I propose dangerous, violent ideas that kill people? Who have I killed?
And you look at capitalism.
Do you realize that Hitler's deadly opponent was capitalism? The fascist ideology is one that is distinctly on the left. And the idea that the fascists are right-wing because they support racial superiority? Wait a minute. The guy who showed the Ku Klux Klan movie in the White House was Woodrow Wilson, a progressive Democrat. So progressivism was married to racism at the hip. So don't pretend it was a right-wing phenomenon. It wasn't.
On a Dr. Phil show, a woman attempts to body shame a slimmer woman only to get schooled using her own logic.
First, I want to direct this to Miss Skinny Minnie.
Which Miss Skinny Minnie?
Isn't her name Mimi or Skinny Minnie?
Yeah, okay, Mimi.
Well, the skinniest girl up there. She made a comment that you have to have a lot of willingness and motivation to be skinny.
I was quoting Dr. Kelly Brownell of Yale. That's what he says.
I don't care who you was quoting. You said it, own it.
I agree with him, absolutely.
Okay, good. I'm a plus-size model. I am willing and motivated to wake up every day to keep these curves. I don't want to wake up and look like you and be confused and quoting everybody.
Let me ask you a question while you're standing up. Why is it okay for you to call her Skinny Minnie, but it's not okay for her to comment about someone's size that's larger?
Well, I don't know her name, so okay, you got me on that, but moving on. No chubbies, no chubbies. No, I got something for no chubbies.
You said it, own it.
This woke lady gets a reality check after arguing against the American system.
Dominant narrative in America is white people are evil, white people suck, we should be ashamed of ourselves. And
I don't think we should be ashamed of ourselves. I think that we should take responsibility for the system that we've created.
The best system in the world?
Oh, we do not have the best system in
Who
the
has
world.
a better system?
There are many European countries that are much better off
Oh,
than
you
us.
mean like the European countries with a higher density of whites, like Northern Europe?
That's one way to phrase it, I guess.
You don't mean Turkey.
No.
You don't mean Eastern Europe
No.
with the communists. So the only time you can come up with a system that's better than America, it's a country that's more white than America. I don't understand.
Joe Mazzulla, the coach of the Boston Celtics, was asked what he thinks about both head coaches in the NBA Finals being black. His response stunned reporters into silence.
For the first time since 1975, this is the NBA Finals where you have two black head coaches. Given the plight sometimes of black head coaches in the NBA, do you think this is a significant moment? Do you take pride in this? How do you view this, or do you not see it at all?
I wonder how many of those have been Christian coaches.
On the Piers Morgan show, a guest has had enough of another guest's woke rhetoric, leading to an iconic moment.
Listen to what I'm saying, and you will understand, perhaps, what I'm trying to imply.
That's very patronizing.
Utilizing the hostages. I am being patronizing. I don't know who the you are, and you're over here chirping all the way from fucking London about Palestine and doing a both sides are fine type bullshit where you're talking about how you want to fucking free Palestine, but also simultaneously, both sides got a lot going on. Shut the fuck up. You don't know anything.
In this clip, a farmer calmly destroys an OnlyFans girl who claims to be vegan.
All animal industries, including the meat, dairy and egg industries, leather, wool, fur, feather, scales, they're all inherently abusive. Just
You've
human
never
food
visited
consumption.
my place.
How do you know?
Because if you had, you'd know that you're talking a load of shit.
And what animals do you farm? What is your industry?
I run a goat dairy. For a start, we don't, our animals.
Yes, you use euphemisms such as artificial insemination, which
I
is
don't
great.
use artificial insemination. I run my bucks with my herd. My bucks get the girls when the girls are in season, and only then. And it's their choice, nature's choice. We allow our kids to stay on their mother. We only take the excess milk. So you're talking a load of shit.
You are abusing your animals.
No,
That's
I'm
what
not.
you do. Yes.
Let me ask
You're
you
making
something.
profit
If
from
I'm
them.
abusing my animals, why is it that I can walk out in the paddock, I can call them by name, and every single one of my animals come up and want to rub their faces on me? If I'm abusing them, why are they so friendly to me?
In this clip, a lady accuses all white people of being racists, but her claim gets quickly checked.
LBJ was a racist because he was an old white man.
Are all white people racist?
I would say that I think white people have an implicit bias.
Do you understand how racist it is to think that all white people are racist?
We don't experience.
A leftist attempts to debate Matt Walsh on gender-affirming surgeries for minors, but fails to cite any data, resulting in a quick takedown by Matt.
Why in your movies and your discussions do you selectively ignore and misrepresent the recent burgeoning medical and behavioral literature that demonstrates that gender-affirming care and similar medical interventions demonstrate consistent improvements to mental health, suicidality, and general well-being?
Which study are those?
There are probably like 30 studies by this point, all produced in the last 10 years or so. Anybody can look them up on...
Okay, well, just here's the problem. Here's the problem. I'm not impressed by just you saying a study.
No,
okay,
because studies.
Fine. Well, there could be 100 studies. There could be 1,000 studies.
Them.
Great. Yeah, and I have read them. Have you?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So I'll give you one example. I don't know if you can give me any examples, but I'll give you one example of a recent study and this was just in the headlines. It said that it proved that double mastectomies for minor girls improves their well-being. And this was a study, and it was proven, peer-reviewed. Then you read how they actually conducted this study, and you find out that they interviewed a very small selection of girls in one region of the country, all from the same socioeconomic background, and they did their follow-up, I think it was 3 months later. And based on a follow-up a few months later, they've determined that, it improves well-being. You see the problem here? No, I don't want. I don't.
There are many, but this is the exception to the rule. Many.
I don't think it is.
Use observational data with various follow-up from like 6 months to 5 years to 10 years, and they don't demonstrate what you claim.
Well, you can say the word study, but what I'm saying is when you
look them up.
Okay,
They're
great, great.
You can Google them.
Yeah, and so can you. It sounds like you haven't.
I've done it a good bit.
Oh, you've done it a good bit. Okay, all right. Well, I just gave you an
transgender health, PubMed, NIH, gender affirming care, and I mean it's
okay.
It's
Let me ask you this.
Anybody can look at this.
What's your name?
Jacob.
Jacob. Let me ask you this. How do you think they would have large-scale, long-term studies about the effects of these drugs and these surgeries on children when we only started doing it to children at a large scale a few years ago? So how could that even exist?
Yeah, I think scale is probably one of the more prevalent challenges of these studies.
Okay, so we're already hearing that there are challenges in these studies.
Every study has challenges. Like any scientific truth, like all of the scientific truth that we take for granted today, they're built on methodologies that fundamentally have flaws. Like if you want to make a specific critique, you can do that. If you're talking about
did.
Well, if you're talking about sample size, there are very well demonstrated statistical results that you don't need 10,000 people to get like a statistically significant benefit.
Yes, you do.
No, absolutely not. It's like a very basic statistical
Jacob.
fact.
Jacob.
A sample size greater than 1,000, that can that has very nice asymptotic properties. Like,
Jacob, here's what I know. If you want to even begin to claim that a study has proven that castrating and sterilizing little boys helps them in the long run, then you would need to have a large sample size of children who've gone through these procedures, and we've checked back with them in adulthood to see how they're doing.
As we've seen, sometimes all it takes is a simple dose of reality to shatter even the most delusional narratives. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out these other ones. And help us out by liking, sharing, and commenting. Subscribe to the channel for more outrageous woke idiots getting hit with a reality check every week. Thanks for watching, and as always, we will see you next time.